April 15, 1944. Along the muddy banks of the Meuse River in northern France, the air hangs heavy with early spring chill. Mist curls over the water like ghostly fingers, hiding the contours of the opposite bank. German patrols march in deliberate silence, their boots sinking into the soft earth, rifles slung tightly against their shoulders. Command tents flutter in the wind, and the sharp metallic scent of equipment oil mingles with the earthy aroma of wet soil. Captain Samuel "Sam" Richardson, a wiry man with keen blue eyes and the steady hands of a lifelong engineer, crouches beside a group of combat engineers from the 291st Engineer Combat Battalion. They're huddled under a camouflage tarpaulin, listening to the distant drone of German vehicles and the occasional bark of a sentry dog. Every soldier knows the stakes. The Allies must cross the river before the Germans can reinforce their positions on the far side. Richardson scans the riverbank, taking in the wide expanse of water. Floating debris drifts lazily downstream, a silent testament to previous floods. Across the river, German artillery pieces glint under the sparse sunlight, their crews methodically checking equipment. Somewhere out there, German commanders are calculating the impossibility of an American crossing in hours. Little do they know that an engineering miracle is about to unfold. The engineers unwrap steel pontoons, ropes, and wooden planks. Lieutenant Harold McKinney, Richardson's second-in-command, kneels beside a set of blueprints, tracing the layout of a modular bridge that can bear the weight of M4 Sherman tanks. 8 hours, he mutters, almost to himself. 8 hours and we'll be across. The men exchange uneasy glances. They know the Germans have eyes on this river. Any misstep could invite artillery shells raining down, sweeping away hours of painstaking work. Yet beneath the fear is a quiet determination, the kind forged in months of training and the unyielding belief in American ingenuity. Each engineer feels it, the weight of responsibility for hundreds of soldiers who will rely on this bridge to survive and advance. Richardson slaps a hand on the shoulder of Corporal James "Jimmy" O'Donnell, who's unrolling a steel girder. "Keep calm, Jimmy. Precision over speed. The faster we panic, the more the river wins." O'Donnell nods, wiping sweat from his brow despite the cold. The men work in tense silence, every splash, every creak of wood amplified in the quiet morning. Above, a flock of crows breaks the mist, their cawing almost a warning. Richardson's eyes narrow. He signals with a flick of his hand. The engineers respond like clockwork, moving into position, preparing the pontoons that will support the bridge. In the distance, a German officer peers through binoculars, frowning at the activity on the near bank. He cannot imagine how quickly this river will be bridged, how fast American ingenuity will defy expectations. The first plank is set. Water laps against the temporary supports, a subtle, relentless reminder of the challenge ahead. The men brace themselves for the hours of labor that will follow, aware that every second counts, aware that failure could mean death. Yet, amidst the tension, there is a spark of excitement, a pulse that tells them they are about to do the impossible. By 0730 hours, the engineers are fully deployed along the riverbank. The sun, pale and diffused through lingering mist, glints off steel tools and water-soaked planks. Captain Richardson raises his hand, signaling the start. Hammers pound, ropes strain, and pontoons shift as the first segment of the bridge is lowered into the churning river. Lieutenant McKinney barks orders with the precision of a conductor leading a symphony. Position the pontoons, tight. Brace the anchors. Move the gangplank. The men respond without hesitation, a practiced unit honed by drills and countless hours in training camps far from this muddy bank. Every motion is choreographed. A plank set, a cable tightened, a pontoon secured. The bridge grows piece by piece, inch by inch, across the water. From across the river, German officers frown at the activity. Major Klaus Weber, a seasoned commander with 3 campaigns under his belt, taps his binoculars nervously. "It's impossible," he mutters in disbelief. "They cannot build a bridge this fast." His subordinates shrug uneasily, equally baffled. Tanks and infantry cannot possibly traverse the Meuse in a single morning. Yet here, the Americans defy all logic. Suddenly, the river erupts with a distant thud, the first artillery shell lands on the far bank. German machine gun fire sweeps across the water in sharp bursts, rattling the men's nerves. Richardson ducks instinctively, shouting over the roar, "Keep moving! Stay low! Don't break formation!" Bullets ping against steel pontoons, splinters fly as planks shift under fire. Yet the engineers push forward, every man knowing that hesitation could cost the lives of hundreds waiting on the other side. Corporal O'Donnell secures a pontoon as Lieutenant McKinney adjusts the tension of a cable. "Almost halfway," he yells, his voice barely audible over the chaos. Richardson's eyes scan the river. M4 Shermans and half-tracks will soon cross this fragile ribbon of steel, and the enemy cannot stop it. Each plank laid is a triumph over fear, each cable tightened a silent defiance of death itself. By noon, the structure begins to resemble a full bridge, the pontoons locked in perfect alignment. The men pause for brief moments, wiping sweat and grime from their faces, but there is no time to linger. Richardson watches a cable strain under the weight of a testing cart, then nods. "It holds," he announces, a hint of awe in his voice. "Let's move the armor." The first Sherman tank rumbles onto the bridge, shaking the pontoons beneath it. Engineers hold their breath, eyes wide as steel creaks and water churns. Inch by inch, the tank makes its way across, the bridge bearing the immense weight without faltering. Across the river, German officers gape in shock, their disbelief mirrored on every face. By early afternoon, the bridge is fully operational. Sherman tanks, half-tracks, and jeeps begin rolling across, their engines thrumming like a heartbeat over the Meuse. Captain Richardson watches from the bank, binoculars in hand, sweat streaking the grime on his face. Every vehicle that reaches the far side without incident is a victory against both the river and the relentless enemy fire. Lieutenant McKinney signals engineers to tighten the final cables and reinforce the planks as German artillery intensifies. The staccato of gunfire echoes across the valley, ricocheting off the water and steel. Bullets ping and ricochet, but the men remain focused, their hands steady despite the chaos. One pontoon wobbles under the weight of a tank and Richardson's heart jumps, but a few quick adjustments from a team of engineers stabilize it before disaster strikes. On the far bank, German Major Klaus Weber fumes. He slams a fist on the map table inside his command tent. "They are moving armor across in hours. How is this possible?" His officers exchange worried glances, realizing that the Allies' rapid crossing will soon flank their positions. Tanks that should have taken days to deploy are now threatening their supply lines, their communications, and their retreat. Back on the bridge, Corporal O'Donnell spots a half-track teetering on a narrow plank. With a shout, he rushes to secure the vehicle, bracing it as water splashes around his boots. "Hold steady," he yells, sweat and rain mixing in a gritty film on his face. The half-track inches forward, stabilized by the cable ropes and the combined effort of 4 engineers. The crowd of soldiers waiting behind him on the near bank erupts in silent relief as it reaches solid ground. Richardson knows this is more than a bridge, it is a statement. The Americans' ability to overcome natural obstacles and enemy defenses in hours is reshaping the battlefield. He glances at the engineers, faces smeared with grime and exhaustion. "You're making history, men," he mutters, almost to himself. They share brief smiles, too tired for celebration, too focused to relax. Every second counts. More vehicles, more troops, more supplies must cross before nightfall. The German guns continue their futile bombardment, but the bridge holds. The river, once an impassable barrier, is now nothing more than a corridor for the Allied advance. Richardson's mind races ahead to the troops crossing, imagining the shock in German ranks when they realize the Americans are already on the other side. The impossible has been achieved. In just 8 hours, a functional, tank-bearing bridge now spans the Meuse, and the battlefield will never be the same. As dusk begins to settle over the Meuse River, a golden haze glimmers on the surface of the water. The bridge, sturdy and unyielding despite hours of gunfire and pounding armor, stands as a monument to human ingenuity. Captain Richardson wipes his brow, watching the final waves of vehicles cross safely. Exhaustion weighs on every engineer, but in their eyes burns a quiet pride. They have accomplished the impossible. Across the river, German Major Klaus Weber sits stiffly in his command tent, the map before him now practically meaningless. His face is pale, his hands shaking slightly as he relays orders to his subordinates. They've crossed. In hours. How? The words barely leave his lips before another officer interrupts, voice tight with disbelief. Major, our positions are compromised. The Americans are already consolidating on the far bank. Reinforcements cannot reach them in time. Weber leans back in his chair, rubbing his temples. For years, he had calculated and prepared for every conceivable Allied maneuver, yet this rapid engineering feat, defied every expectation. The precision, speed, and daring required to assemble a bridge capable of holding tanks in such a short time was beyond comprehension. Every German planner in the command tent realizes the grim truth. The battle's outcome may have shifted in a single day. Meanwhile, on the American side, soldiers cheer quietly as the last of the Sherman tanks trundle across. Richardson walks along the bridge, inspecting the pontoons, touching the cables, as if to reassure himself that it is real. He nods at McKinney and O'Donnell. Gentlemen, we just rewrote the rules. Nearby, the engineers begin dismantling temporary scaffolding, securing the structure for continued use. Some rest on the riverbank, hands on knees, faces streaked with mud and sweat. The camaraderie is palpable, an unspoken bond forged in adrenaline and near constant danger. They know they have not only built a bridge, they have delivered hope, speed, and a tactical advantage that will echo far beyond this river. As night falls, the Meuse reflects the flickering lights of American encampments, now fully established on both sides. German patrols have retreated, shaken by the sudden realization of what has occurred. Orders are frantic, morale falters. The Americans, on the other hand, consolidate their positions, secure supply lines, and prepare to press the advantage. Richardson stands at the water's edge, looking across the shimmering bridge. The river that had seemed so imposing just hours ago now lies conquered, a testament to engineering skill, bravery, and unyielding determination. The German commander's disbelief spreads like wildfire through the ranks. How could a small group of engineers, working under fire, construct a bridge capable of bearing tanks in a single day? The answer is simple and terrifying: American ingenuity. The Meuse crossing will be studied in military academies for decades to come, a defining moment where precision, speed, and courage turn the tide of battle in a single night. Night settles fully over the Meuse, the moon breaking through patches of drifting cloud. A thin fog hugs the river's edge, swirling around the steel structure the Americans have raised in record time. Lanterns glow faintly along the bridge, casting long, wavering reflections across the black water. The sounds of battle have faded, replaced by the rhythmic clatter of boots, the low rumble of engines, and the soft voices of soldiers preparing for the next phase of the advance. Captain Richardson stands on the far bank now, boots sinking into the damp soil as he surveys the rapidly expanding American presence. Rows of Sherman tanks form crescent-shaped defensive positions, their silhouettes imposing in the dark. Infantry units unload crates of ammunition, fuel, and rations, while radio operators string long cables toward a newly established field headquarters. The entire area hums with energy, the unmistakable pulse of a force gaining momentum. Lieutenant McKinney approaches with a clipboard tucked under his arm. His voice is low but steady. Recon teams report the Germans are pulling back 2 kilometers. They weren't prepared for this at all. Richardson gives a tired smile. That was the idea. The faster we move, the less they can predict. But the success has come at a cost. Near the foot of the bridge, medics treat engineers who were injured during the construction: shrapnel wounds, burns, crushed fingers, twisted ankles. Corporal O'Donnell sits on a makeshift stool, his right arm bandaged from wrist to elbow. Despite the pain, he grins proudly as he watches soldiers cross the bridge he helped build. 8 hours, he murmurs. We really did it. Far across the river, the German positions lie unnervingly quiet. In a dimly lit bunker, Major Klaus Weber pores over reports delivered in frantic bursts. His commanders try to make sense of the impossible. A bridge built under fire, sturdy enough to carry armor, completed in the time it should have taken the Americans just to secure the banks. Weber grips the edge of the table until his knuckles turn white. "They've mastered speed," he whispers. "We cannot fight an enemy that moves like this." German soldiers on the retreat speak in hushed tones of the ghost bridge, a structure that seemed to rise out of the river as if summoned. The fear is palpable, not just of American firepower, but of American capability. The psychological blow is as devastating as any artillery barrage. Back at the American camp, Richardson gathers his engineers for a brief moment of respite. They sit on crates, some eating cold rations, others simply closing their eyes and breathing deeply. "Get some rest," Richardson tells them. "Tomorrow, they'll need us again." McKinney chuckles wearily. "What's next, sir?" "Build a runway in 6 hours." Richardson shakes his head, though a faint grin tugs at the corner of his mouth. "Don't give anyone ideas." Above them, the stars glimmer through the thinning clouds. The Meuse flows steadily beneath the bridge, once a barrier, now a highway for the American advance. In the distance, artillery flashes mark the next stage of the conflict, but here at the riverbank, victory feels tangible. For the first time since dawn, Richardson allows himself a moment of quiet reflection. He thinks of the calculations, the sweat, the fear, but also the relentless determination that carried his men forward. This night, this bridge, this moment, it will reverberate through history. Because on this river, in these 8 hours, American engineers didn't just build a bridge. They built a turning point. By dawn the next morning, the Meuse River no longer resembles a front line. It has become a thoroughfare. Convoys move across the bridge in steady intervals, headlights dimmed, engines rumbling in patient unison. The riverbanks that had witnessed chaos and uncertainty just 24 hours earlier now echo with discipline and momentum. Captain Richardson walks the length of the pontoon bridge once more, boots clinking softly on steel plating still slick with dew. The early light reveals the scars of yesterday's battle, bullet-pocked pontoons, frayed rope ends, scorch marks from near hits. Yet the structure stands strong, solid, defiant, unwavering. Lieutenant McKinney joins him halfway across. "Headquarters just sent word," he says, voice carrying over the quiet splash of water. "High Command is using our crossing to push 2 infantry divisions deeper into the valley. They're calling it the fastest river penetration of the campaign." Richardson exhales slowly. The weight of those words settles over him, not as a burden, but as affirmation. What his engineers achieved wasn't only a tactical win, it was a strategic pivot, a shockwave extending far beyond the Meuse. To the north, German units scrambled to reposition, their communications strained by the sudden collapse of what they believed to be an impenetrable natural barrier. To the south, Allied commanders seized the opportunity, reshaping operational plans in real time, anticipating breakthroughs that were unthinkable days before. The momentum is shifting and everyone feels it. In a dim bunker far behind the German lines, Major Klaus Weber dictates a grim report to headquarters. His voice is hoarse, his posture defeated. American engineer units demonstrated unprecedented speed and coordination in bridge construction. Enemy armor advanced before we could reposition artillery. Defensive lines compromised. He pauses, swallowing hard. Recommend immediate withdrawal to secondary positions. Weber lowers the receiver, staring blankly at the map pinned to the wall. The Americans had not simply crossed a river, they had crossed into the realm of the impossible. And in doing so, they broke the rhythm of German defense. Back on the riverbank, Corporal O'Donnell, arms still in bandages, stands beside a group of fresh engineers newly arrived to reinforce the crossing. His face brightens as he watches them prepare their tools. "You'll see," he tells one of the younger men. "A river looks big until someone decides it isn't." Nearby, McKinney updates supply officers while soldiers haul crates across the bridge in perfect cadence. Every aspect of the operation, the logistics, the pace, the coordination, reflects the same principle that allowed the bridge to rise: relentless, focused efficiency. Richardson pauses at the far bank, looking back at the Meuse glittering under the morning sun. The bridge stretches behind him, steel and determination woven together across the slow-moving water. He thinks of the countless battles still to come, the towns not yet liberated, the soldiers depending on safe passage. But he also knows something fundamental changed last night. The Germans believed the river would hold. The Americans proved that nothing could. In 8 hours under fire, with mud under their boots and death in the air, a group of engineers reshaped the battlefield, and in doing so, shifted the war's momentum. Their bridge did not merely connect two shores. It connected strategy to possibility, hope to action, and courage to history. And long after the war ends, military academies will teach this night as a lesson in engineering brilliance and human resolve. A moment when an army moved not because it was expected, but because a handful of men refused to accept limits. The Meuse crossing will forever stand as testimony. Sometimes, a single night can change the fate of an entire campaign.